Hey everyone, this is Malkazer returning with another installment to the Final Fantasy XIV story playthrough. Last we played, we got into the new story missions. Got into individuals trying to find a long lost treasure in order to help out the people of Thavnair. We got close to it, but we found out that unfortunately we needed to have a certain item level in order to even do the dungeon in the first place. So we spent a lot of last stream doing a couple dungeons to get access to the pieces over here, as well as a spending some of the new tomestones. We spent the aphorism on the ring of fending, and we spent the astronomy on this radiance shield. Doesn't look all that fancy, but it is one of the stronger shields in the game right now. But probably, unless you either craft or you raid, is probably going to be the best gear you're going to get for a while. 590 gear. But now that we have all that, we can actually go ahead and hop in here to the new dungeon, Alzadal's. Isn't it even on the list? Oh, hello. Didn't even notice you there. Okay, got that. Took me a second to remember what the command was. So, where is this quest? Apparently, in order to enter it as a trust, I need to have unlocked it. So, let's go actually do it in person. I mean, as trust is in for the first time, you have to actually go there. After that, you can unlock it on the trust menu. Even then, apparently not, because you still need to level people up. That's kind of weird. And it's not even on the list. There's everyone. Right. NPC. Oh, it looks like that's my only... well, I could take Graha instead. But I'm going to tank it. I think that'll work out just fine. Member selection available. Oh, that means I can switch someone out. Okay. Let's get into Alzadal's legacy over here and continue the story. That's creepy island theme. Also, I don't know if you guys have noticed this last I played, but it's a lot brighter in here. I figured out a way how to make that happen. Maybe a little bit too bright. Maybe that'll work out. Alright, let's see what everyone else has to say here. Time to learn just how authentic our map truly is. Also, also Langer. Whatever that is. Is it like a lemur? Confitio. His music's pretty interesting. Nice. Confitio. Love that Confitio. Such a cool weapon. What am I doing? Let me go back to my... No? I'm making ready over here. Okay. Map's Glyph of Passage opens a path forward. The glyph works its magic once more. Ooh. The map has magic in it. Alzadal's Vajralan Gula and Asvatha. Okay. Bad breath me? Back up. Up. Trying to have you right in front of me. You keep turning. Stupid. I guess you don't do bad breath, so it's alright. Still. Stop trying to hug me. Yes, I didn't see you. Confitio. Dude. Looks just like you pick one and then everyone's like spreads out. They can't touch each other in this game. Oh no. You can't have them all stacked on the same spot. With the glyph of blah blah blah. Dink dink. First boss looks like Ultra Ultros. Whoa, Black Betty and Bajam. My, what dense teeth this creature has. It is a rare breed of jellyfish, one with a sting, I imagine. Well, I hope so, Oriachi. Alright, well, let's go ahead and jump in. big wave. Is that a Tank Buster? No, it's not. Tentacle dig. Oh, don't let the tentacle hit you. Ah, I see. Good to know. Just don't stay near it wherever it lands. Gotcha. Two of them now. Looks like they're all the way over there. Yep. Easy enough. Man, this guy's taking a while to die. I think I know why. I think it's because the last couple I had to do with people. Doing these NPC jobs is just takes longer. Easy enough. Okay, so one of them does the toxicosis, one of them does the vulnerability up. I'm wondering which one did what. That's fine. He'll be dead soon anyway. Got it. Are we gonna limit break that, really? If only it had been a squid, imagine all the dried rations. I'd rather not. But look, is that a teleporter? This thing drops 575 stuff. That's... Wait. If this place drops 575 gear... Wait a second, that's already better than the Moon Ward stuff. Is it all? They drop a little, they drop everything? So if you do this dungeon quite a bit, you have every single piece. We have a passage detected, confirming bearer's identity. This must be the satrap's vault. Such fascinating design. Ooh. He did say it was at the bottom of the ocean or something. Anyway, as I was saying, it makes all the... If you could deck yourself out with 575 gear, then you're already better than the Moon Ward gear that you can buy with the weaker tombstones. So I mean, I'll still do a few pieces here and there just to use the tomestones that I'm going to earn. Aphorism. But that's kind of a disappointment, like robbery immediately. The first dungeon you actually get story-wise allows you to bypass that. Yeah, but bracelet healing, 575. Oh, you. Unrecognized ethereal signature. Brazen thief. You will proceed no further. Think so? Like summoning things. Get over here. We need to kill this thing. Meteor, kill it. A lot of dudes because you guys weren't killing the giant mirror. Oh, you guys doing AoEs now? Oh, that's new. I didn't even notice that. Like originally they never did AoEs, but I guess they fixed that. Because it was kind of ridiculous that everything would take so long to kill. Because they just single target everything. Much better, actually. Still a lot slower than, you know, the actual group. But that's fine. Okay. Come on. Everyone over here. Keep up. I'm weaving too quickly, apparently. Confiteor. Boom. Feel like necklace offending. Immediately replace that. Well, good thing now there's one less piece of moon ward gear I have to purchase. These units, I must needs memorize these defenses. You really are really quite serious about consulting this consulting role of yours. We're going over here.
You underestimate me.
Whatever. Kill the thing, please. It's a good time to throw down the slow. That would be it right there. Perfect. Bob Trap also all the 14th. Even has a little crown on him. Yeah, I'm getting hurt a lot. Here. You know what? The Confiteor for everybody. Take that. Be gone. Jeez. All right. We'll get one piece of gear out of this. That's nice. Armored chariot. Take more than this to halt our expedition. Yes, thanks, Y'shtola. All the things they say. I'm gonna wait for this to tick down real quick. Alright, here we go. Turn back, treasure seeker, or this vault will be yours too. Interesting. That's easy to see. No big deal. Diffusion ray. I assume that's going to be that. Ooh. Yep, that hit everybody. That's exactly what I wanted to do. Okay, so they're going to come laser things again. Oh. Ooh. Pay attention where they are too. They're not just in the corners every single time. These ones are in the corners. Am I gonna drop a pancake or is it just a fire? Cool, let's get out of that. And so. Yep. Not too shabby. Just all I have to do is just pay attention to the guys on the other side. Here, take that, the diffusion ray. Go Confitio. Oh, he finally used his tank buster ability. I wasn't even paying attention. Just whatever. Trying to follow Y'shtola. She's like, I'm gonna take forever and figure it out. Your greed will prove your undoing. Attack routines, behavioral patterns. There is much to report. Well, let's get to the last bit over here in this dungeon. Hey, look, treasure. Ah, this should more than cover the price of the map. How much did you pay for it anyway? Well, you are pretty bad with money, Estinian, so... I like how they made that canon. Valor, kaboom! There we go. What is that called? A mystic weapon? Looks like a slime of some sort. Yeah. An interesting treasure in here, like a giant elephant head. Price 1 horde. Okay.
Together we shall overcome this.
Is that what it is? Together we shall overcome this? Thanks, Oriage. Your insight is always important. Confitio! Yeah. There's everyone standing there, attacking. Little things on its top, it's like spinning around. I'm a machine. Ooh, materia. Secret doors, hidden paths, more elements to consider. Okay. Why is this guy by himself? Hmm. Thanks again, Oriage. Or treasure chest. That's what I thought. Of course, we have some mimics in here.
Together we shall overcome this. Make ready.
Did even drop an actual chest? Nope. But of course not. Why would they? I think it's nice how they added that if you mess up with your Confiture, which I just did, you can still get your triple combo off. Ooh. Looming Warden. Kapikulu. Looks cool. A giant robot. Pillow keeps falling down. What a pain in the butt. Ba-dum-bum-bum. More materia. Okay. What does anybody have to say here? Is wrapped in ether-imbued silks. No mere adornments, then. Okay. Does Danny have anything to say? Bum, bum, bum. Bum, 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 bum. Okay. Warning, this bottle is not a member protection. Failure to withdraw will invite chastisement. So don't touch the edges. A future. How do you control your direction? Oh, okay. That's weird. There comes the... Yep. This is the one that hits everybody. Yep. Wild Weave. What does this one do? Interesting. You have to stand near the ones he didn't touch or something? I don't know. Benfitio. Oh, you have to dodge the spikes. You have to dodge that too. All intruders will be slain. This is an interesting mechanic. I can see it just being annoying after a while. This is one where you randomly imbue certain ones. So he's going to do the yellow one. Does it mean the green ones are going to be safe? Yep. Yeah. That one's easy enough to avoid. Is that what it is? Time to end this? Show me what you've got. Alright, well there's that. Still gonna be sad about it? Nope. Anything cool out of that? Offer. I got more aphorism. Oh, I got a lot of. Dang. 1 second. Like everything got spirit bonded at the same time. Fine with me. Anything else? Nope. Okay. No commendations. Come on, guys. What is that?
What have we here?
Exactly. Giant pot. Excuse me, I'll turn the auto on.
Tis not unlike a Hunnish alchemical furnace in design.
Well, there is one way we might find out.
It's a better one.
Stop! You mustn't touch it.
It's something sealed inside.
Vritra! Oh, my apologies. Should I continue calling you Varshan?
You may address me as you wish. My nature is no longer a secret. Still, this is not a setting I imagined for our reunion. Surely you've not entered these ruins as common looters.
Would that we could deny your accusations, but I fear you're not far from the truth. Great Vritra, might we beseech thee to explain the nature of this strange contrivance?
It was crafted by our alchemists at my behest, for the purpose of sealing something away.
Sealing away what exactly? My sister.
Perhaps I should simply show you.
I'll open it. I'll unseal it. Whatever. Critical roll, anybody? Void.
I have lifted the seal, if only for the moment, by an authority only I possess.
A planar fissure?
No, my friend. Small though it may be, this is a functioning gate into the void.
Which was the first planet that was consumed, right? Because of all the calamities. Became the void because they did it too hardcore, right? I think that was the story behind it. Void gates and fissures are much the same thing in practice, in the sense that both allow passage between the source and the 13th. The difference in terminology refers to the circumstances of their creation. A fissure is an incidental tear in the fabric between worlds, whereas a void gate is the product of a deliberate action. I suspect this is the latter, judging by the elaborate mechanism put in place to control it. To think that our research for material riches would lead to this priceless discovery. That swirling emptiness. It puts me in mind of old friends, not to mention old foes. Or voice acting? Could be.
I must admit, I am deathly curious to know how a void gate came to be hidden in the depths of these ruins.
To tell that tale, we must first peer far to the south, and even further into memory.
Mericidia?
An age 5 millennia passed when the Algan Empire sent an invading force to the shores of Mericidia. The southern people rallied around the commanding figures of Bahamut and Tiamat and fought fiercely to repel the would-be conquerors. With Bahamut's defeat, however, the tide turned against them. Desperate to seize any advantage, the Mercidians resorted to summoning primal entities. In response, Emperor Zande forged a covenant with the Cloud of Darkness, sovereign among the all-devouring denizens of the Void.
But I destroyed it.
Thus bolstered by icons on one side and Void Scent on the other, the two armies clashed in a battle of unspeakable carnage. So much death, so much loss.
I consider myself well versed in that period of history, yet you speak as one who witnessed it happen.
Well, he did.
Indeed, I did. I heard Tiamat's roar of defiance and sped toward that war-torn land. Along with my sibling, Ashdaya. We dragons are not male or female as men are wont to classify, but elder sister is the closest a mortal tongue can come to describing what she meant to me. I was the last of our brood to hatch, and Ashdaya cared for me where my sire could not. Thus I was with her when Tiamat roared. I was with her when she journeyed south, and I was with her when she fought against the Void-sent hordes. Yet no matter how many of their vile fiends we cast down, more rose from the abyss to take their place. Faced with an unwinnable war of attrition, Ashdaya risked her all on a final gamble. She plunged through the Void Gate itself to strike at the root of their strength. I tried to follow in her wake, determined to lend what aid I could. But even as I came upon Alag's glittering tower, I saw the rift close behind her. And Ashdaya has been lost to us ever since.
I find I must retract my earlier claim of historical knowledge. Nowhere in the Crystal Tower's archives did I see mention of such noble sacrifice.
Because they wouldn't want to.
That does not surprise me. To Allagan eyes, it must have seemed as if a lone dragon, driven to madness, simply dove through the gate and did not return. For my part, I spent long years searching for the means to reunite with Ashdaya. Until I could search no more. Until Alag was dust, and the art to open a void gate large enough to accommodate a dragon forever lost.
Yet you have the beginnings of a gate right here, under the control of a harnessed device.
My discovery came before Radzat Han was founded. Though I scoured the lands for a method to cross the rift, it was beneath the sea that I chanced to find a natural planar fissure. It was, however, far too narrow to admit a worm's bulk. Only after our city rose upon the rock, and I could enlist the aid of our talented alchemists, did matters take a favorable turn. Their dedication was beyond reproach. Tirelessly, they worked to expand the fissure, and after decades of toil, it finally grew to a size that a child might pass through.
Not long ago, you told us that you called out to your kin, that Ashdaya's answer was silence. I suspect the conclusion to your tale is not a joyful one.
With hope in my heart, I used a simulacrum to cross the threshold. But no, I did not find her. What I found was a host of voidsent, clamoring around the opening they had sensed. 'Twas but a moment, but enough. I had no choice but to retreat and allow the portal to contract once more.
But now we're here.
The gate was a threat to your people. You had to decide between endangering Razat Khan and abandoning your sister. You chose the latter.
'Twas not that thy sibling scorned thy call. 'Twas that she was trapped beyond a barrier through which neither roar nor dragon may pass. Even now, in the desolate world of the 13th.
I can scarce imagine your pain, yet it was wise not to linger in that place. Too long a sojourn, and even a being of your power risks being warped into a creature of the void. You've seen this phenomenon before, when we stepped into the darkness.
Remember when Nero turned purple?
Turned purple? Well, yes. His wounds had allowed the void's corruption to enter his body and twist his ether. Had it been allowed to progress much longer, I presume he would have been fully transformed.
Then there is little hope for Ashdaya.
Ah, no. I hadn't meant to. I speak only of possibilities. The scales of the first brood are extraordinarily resistant to ethereal fluctuations. They are the protective talisman's core components after all, and even the corruption I described would struggle to overcome. Of course. With the warding scale in one's possession, one could conceivably survive a stay in the 13th without being warped by its energies.
Be that as it may, it is too late to rescue my sister. 5,000 years too late.
Never say never.
And now countless others look to me for guidance and protection.
Opening more threads for us to explore.
So when I sensed intruders in the ruins, I came only to ensure that the gate remained closed. That, and to secure the treasure, of course. I wish only to forget the rest.
After all that, I finally accepted the quest. So they managed not only to expand the fissure, but also manipulate it as one might a gate. Astonishing. Is there any chance I could learn more of how this feat was accomplished? I'll tell you what I can. First, however, I must return to the High Crucible and arrange to replace the guardians you so handily destroyed. It will not do to leave the gate undefended. My apologies. We are perhaps a touch zealous in our rush to uncover the vault's secrets, If the constructs can be repaired, we'd be happy to offer our assistance. And that will not be necessary. Much as I retain spare vessels for myself, we keep duplicate guardians on hand for such eventualities. In any case, we should return to Rad's at hand. And look for the treasure and... Passage to Thavner. Don't even have to teleport. I still would have been faster because it doesn't take me straight to Rad's at hand. It just takes me to the continent. Or the zone, if you will. Yeah. I'm just going to teleport anyway. Be nice if it's like, here's a ton of money, and he like grabs some on the way through. That'd be too handy, I guess. Guess we're walking. Promise we will discuss the Void Gate further, but first I must attend to the matter of the boss sentinels. As your instruments have no doubt informed you, the Capicula has been reduced to so much scrap. Please bring a new one out of storage, and see that it is conveyed to its post, along with some few lesser constructs. Was it tomb robbers, beings born of the Tower of Zot, by the sisters, do not tell me a blasphemy yet roams free. It looks away. I wonder who it was. Everyone is just can't make eye contact. Shifty eyes. Why such guilty faces? Surely isn't you who are responsible for this? Oh. And well, the details aren't important. I shall see it done immediately. And with that, the vault will soon be secure once more. Now, I believe you had questions? Quite a few, in fact, but I'd like to begin with the gate itself. It is still functional, yes? Indeed, which is why I saw it sealed with an alchemically forged lock and warded with my magics. Such power must not fall into the wrong hands. In truth, the primary reason for the vault's construction was to keep the gate hidden from the outside world. So much effort for such a little door. What, that little door you speak of leads to an abyss teeming with unspeakable horrors. That said, in its current state, it would admit only the lowliest of void scent, and from this side, no man would be able to pass through. No man? I should think Alpha would fit, given a firm enough push. Physical size is only one consideration. True restriction hinges upon the etheric density of the soul in transit. And yet you succeeded in expanding this diminutive portal and sending your simulacrum to the 13th. Thanks to my brilliant alchemists, I should have destroyed the anomaly when I found it, but instead, I bade them devise a means to control it. After much experimentation, they accomplished the impossible. A method was conceived by which my magics could manipulate the fissure and transform it into a serviceable gate. But that process has long since been forgotten. Once I had given up searching for Ajdaya, there was no need to preserve such esoteric and dangerous knowledge. Thus has the gate lain dormant, for years uncounted. Our own passage to the 13th was made relatively simple thanks to the Crystal Tower. An ancient mechanism channeled the tower's vast stores of energy to open a void gate, one bound to a covenant made of the cloud of darkness. Once that sovereign entity was beaten back, however, the covenant was broken, and the doorway severed from its connection to the void. Theoretically, it should be possible to reconnect the gate by forging a new pact with the Void Scent, but such deals usually end in betrayal, death. In any case, we should attempt to gain an understanding of the Bounty Gate. Mayhap we could resume the search for your sister. As I have already explained, I put those futile hopes to rest centuries ago. My place and my duty is here now. I meant to ask, what prompted you to search for the vault in the first place? It was Augustinian's idea. As I recall, 'twas you who was chasing tales of undersea ruins. Well, as you have seen, the fabulous vault from the stories is quite real, if not its rumored origin. But I'm afraid I must assert a prior claim. I've been adding to the trove for years, little by little, but the time has come to spend it, that I might alleviate my people's suffering. Why did it prompt you to have us going in there for you to be like, okay, I'll spend some of this money? Then we were of one mind. We had no intention of taking it for ourselves. Isn't that right, my friend? Your Excellency, would you object if I were to conduct a closer examination of the gate? I will make no attempt to open it, of course. I owe you and yours a debt that can never be repaid. Whatever boon you ask of me, you shall have it. You are most gracious. I shall take full advantage of your permission. Would that I can join thee in thy study, but the law operates will be anxious to receive my report. I beg my leave of you. And I must be up to Charlene as well. Mistress Kryl was eager to speak with you about that request, so please come back to the annex as soon as you are able. Farewell for now. We can discuss my findings once I return. You'll not be rid of me so easily. Chronicles of New Era Quest series. Not gonna worry about it. Do it later. The difficult part in all this will be deciding how best to put these riches to use. Will you lend me your assistance in these deliberations? Let's get to Taro. Of course. Thank you, Balgazar. Balgazar and I are in this together. I'll follow his example. You give me some of that. Give me barely enough to pay for the repairs with all the quests you're doing. Meanwhile, elsewhere. The Xenos. He's gonna get powered up by the Void too. He's gonna get like everything. Is it chaos? I sense the breaching of the gate, but it is not instigated from this side. It was thrown open from the other. I too felt it. A rare occurrence, yes, but such a tiny portal is beneath our notice. There are more pressing matters at hand. An opportunity is upon us, and the coming of which we have waited for nigh 10,000 years. We dare not let it slip our grasp. You be air next? Yet we must not underestimate he who bested the cloud of darkness. Even restrained by a covenant, the cloud was no feeble wisp to be dispersed by some flesh and blood mortal. And ice. Oh, it's watered. No, it has ice floating around. Oh, no, it doesn't actually. Let him come. I will drown the world and watch his fleshling grasp for his breath in his final moment. Glowing, glowing. Your zeal is admirable, but forget not our cause. Think back on our struggles beneath the sunless sky. Remember where we cede not our will to fight. It's time we set the war in motion and win redemption for our star. Ooh. Now we begin. If we are to spend the treasure wisely, we must first determine which groups would benefit most from monetary assistance. Some of my citizens may find it intimidating to speak with the satrap directly, so I would ask that you act in my stead. Balgazar, you are to visit Akyali and Yedlimad, speak with Matsya and his people, and listen to their grievances. Lestinian, I bid you do the same at Palaka's stand. I'll be conducting my own inquiries at Giant Skull grounds. Once you have ascertained the needs of the populace, we can reconvene at Megaduda. All these names. Can I go to Yedlimad first? It doesn't really matter that much. What was I just had a repair all button? Oh, Balgazar, I was so glad to see you had returned unharmed. You finished with the boat then? Then teleported back, sorry. Anything the village desperately needs? Well, I suppose Kalzal's loss hit us the hardest. I've been trying to find buyers for my fish, but although I sell a few here and there, it's much more difficult than it was before. Everyone's still struggling to rebuild their lives. For now, we're just banding together as best we can. Now we go to Yedlimad. Greetings and welcome, traveler. If this is your first visit to Thavnair, then you must try my special Amarlassi. Refreshing zest cannot be beat. What could such a wonder cost, you wonder? Normally, I part with 3 bottles for the generous price of 19,800 gil, but for you, I'm willing to go as low as even 10,000. You'd be practically stealing from me. I am not a idiot. Stinian, who is you're the one who was with the spear-toting fellow. Well, you can hardly blame a man for trying. The world may no longer be on fire, but we're still sifting through the ashes, so to speak. This is just sparing. We might as well have the ugly tower back for the scant few travelers we see these days. I myself barely have the coin to buy at local prices. I tell you, if I didn't charge the odd adventurer a small fortune for afternoon tea, I'd be scavenging for scraps in the street. Sounds like all you merchants did that to yourselves. How fares the port? Well, it's in shambles, isn't it? The trade routes are open once more, now the danger is past, certainly. but no small number of merchants have had to sell their ships to make ends meet in the short term. Add to that the sailors who lost in the final days, and it's little wonder the flow of exports is no more than a pitiful trickle. If Khazal and his consortium were still with us, I'm sure he'd have found a way to turn our fortunes around. Now that was a man who got things done. God's rest his soul. Pour to make it do that. We'll get everybody's gripes. That's what I'm hearing. Everyone complaining. Oh. Okay. My advisor's return. I just made it back myself. Excuse me. Why do you retain this vessel now that your true form is known? You could have flown across the land in a fraction of the time. Be that as it may, the sight of a massive creature descending from the sky can be startling to say the least. And there are a few places I can enter comfortably without risking the risk of flattening some cart or stall. Logic. Fair enough. As for my inquiries, the people of Palakistan were unanimous in their reply. They are surviving. Resources are stretched to the limit when refugees are pouring in, but they persevered with some assistance from Gedlamad. From what I understand, they have always been an independent community, hunters and foragers and the like, and I was assured that the jungle provides for their needs, for the most part. Palakistan has weathered the disaster better than most, it seems. I myself heard good news and bad. The quarrymen were cautiously optimistic, having just sold a full wagon of giant skull to a foreign trader. But such visitors are few and far between. Compared to our best years, the weight of stone leaving Thavner has been light indeed. Our nation is small and isolated, prosperity dependent on a steady stream of exports. We must identify any obstacles to the flow of trade so we may begin working to remove them. Tell me, what did you learn in Nakyali and Yedlamad? 2 spots. Explain. I see. Without a dedicated buyer, the average fisherman must struggle to offload his daily catch, which is why I believe we should first address the lack of ships and shortage of able-bodied sailors in Yedlamad. I am reminded of a child I spied as I made my way back to the palace. His father was lost at sea when the beast sank their vessel. So many variations of the same tragic tale, repeated over and over. So many lives lost. Enough grief to drown in if we let ourselves be overcome, but we will not. Alxer, Estinian, I will consider the perspectives you brought me and devise a plan to help my people confront this adversity. Come, I'd like you to be in attendance when I announce the proposal to my assembled functionaries. I guess I have nothing better to do.
I thank you for your attendance. The riches the regnant host nations must have their operations restored, their ships rebuilt. Commerce must flow once more. None were spared the tragedy of the final days. Of this I am well aware. But an absence was created by the loss of Kalzal's consortium. And by filling it, we provide new means for our fishermen, our artisans, and others to bring their wares to distant markets.
And what of the children who were left without family to care for them?
That is a concern which weigheth heavily upon my mind. The simple gift of coin will soon be exhausted, leaving these young souls adrift on the fringes of our society. Nay, a proper solution is needed, one which doth guarantee their welfare for years to come. Thou hast surely seen how other nations rise to meet this challenge, adventurer. What dost thou deem the wisest course?
Train them to be adventurers. Taxes. Levy them a trade profits in exchange for your investment. Say it takes a village.
Of course, we must all look out for one another.
That doesn't solve anything, though. I just don't think taxes solve it, though.
This idea into practice. A contract shall be written, requiring all who receive of Al-Zadal's treasure to commit a portion of their future earnings towards the running of an orphanage.
You didn't already have an orphanage?
Such an influential policy is deserving of a worthy name.
Name it after your sister. I'll let him pick. Even though I can give him the suggestion, he'll probably pick Kazal anyway.
A successful merchant. I believe I see thy reasoning. Kalzal should be remembered, not as the blasphemy which terrorized Thavnair, but as a hard-working and generous man who brought much wealth to our shores. Do any among you object to this proposition? Many here lost loved ones to the beasts.
In that time of strife, any one of us could have broken. Any one of us may have been taken by despair. When I think of Kalzal, I feel no hatred. Only a stinging regret that we could not save him as well. Isn't that right, men?
This bodes well for that boy. Mirad, was it? Perhaps he can cut ties with that shady peddler.
Then let it be done. Henceforth, this initiative shall be known as the Kalzal Foundation.
Seems kind of lazy to me, but okay.
Nabdeen, thou art to assemble a patrol and ensure that no child in this city liveth in squalor.
Dragon and man, side by side in pursuit of a brighter morrow. Reminded of Ishgard.
Hopefully they'll do better than Ishgard, though. Ooh, money, boom. And money. Double money. Thank you for putting forth Kalzal's name. I didn't. Those whose lives he enriched will take comfort in seeing his legacy honored. You will forgive me for not speaking sooner, but I bear a message from Archon Y'shtola. He asked that you meet her at the High Crucible at your earliest convenience. Understood, thank you. Y'shtola must have finished her study of the Void Gate. Shall we hear what she has to say then? I will go with you. I thought the satrap would be too busy sitting at the Foundation. My clerks have been the well-oiled cogs of this administration since before I wanted to assume the office. They understand what needs to be done, and I am curious to learn what conclusions your Archon has reached concerning the gate's unique construction. As you wish. Allow me to lead the way, Your Excellency. That just begs the question, if there's a stable gate like that to the 13th, are there other stable gates to the other locations, the other reflections as they are? It's somewhere. This one is like under the ocean. Bum, 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 bum. All right, let's get there already. What have you to say, Y'shtola? And is it voice acted?
Right, here we all are.
You discovered something new.
I took a closer look at that device. I was able to determine how it keeps the Void Gate sealed, but not how it might instead be employed to expand the opening. For that, I would need to reference the technique developed by Vritra's alchemists, no records of which appear to have survived the intervening years.
We know this, so why have you sent for us? Have you learned aught of value or not?
You tell him.
Patience, good sir. One must introduce the subject before launching into specifics.
The 5-paragraph essay.
From what we understand, travel between worlds is accomplished by passing through the nebulous rift which exists between them. Picture, if you will, the moment you were called to the first.
I don't want to, it was scary.
You touched a focus of some kind to help the Exarch pinpoint your location. His summoning spell then channeled the energies of the Crystal Tower to begin your journey to his world. The magics tore a hole in the wall separating source and shard, and cast you into the intervening nothingness. In that place, the laws of nature hold no sway. Yet even through this realm of temporal and spatial instability, you were borne safely to your destination in the first. that guided you across such an unimaginable distance, both physical and metaphorical, was nothing short of a miracle.
Then what of the many void scent found in the source? Who guides them here, and how?
An excellent question. Though there are several methods by which the Void's denizens might intrude upon our world, the rituals of summoning are the most typical. For example, let us consider the Gargoyle, a creature of middling power. To call upon such an entity, the prospective summoner must force open a void gate. The portal lasts but a moment and is relatively small, allowing only an imp or other lesser being to squeeze through with their physical body intact. Our more powerful gargoyle, however, is too large for that. Creating a gate big enough for him would require vast amounts of energy, far beyond the reserves of any one mortal practitioner.
It's waiting around for gates to open up.
Instead, 'tis far more common to bring over only the entity's soul. We had a taste of that ourselves when a certain exarch dragged us to the first. And just as our bodies remained in our world, the Void Sense physical form is left behind in the 13th.
We're just destroying their souls.
Once at its destination, the summoned soul is granted a temporary shell to inhabit. In the gargoyle's case, a stone effigy has proven a suitable vessel.
How do they know what they look like? Maybe they found one a long time ago and they made every statue just like it.
Wait. You said that void scent must be called here deliberately by someone in the source, reeled in like a fisherman with his catch.
Exactly. For a being to navigate the chaos of the rift, with or without form, there must needs be a guiding agent on the other side.
When the hordes poured forth from Alag's Great Gate, it was the technologists who drew them through. Though to my knowledge, planar fissures are in essence natural passages between our world and the void, which require no such guidance to traverse. Why is only the boundary between the source and the 13th so fragile? So much so that it often tears open of its own accord.
I believe solving that mystery is key to understanding travel between the source and its reflections.
And how do you intend to get your answers?
No, the danger is too great.
Perhaps, but what some call danger, others think of as adventure.
Were you not listening to my tale? Never mind that the means to expand the gate has been lost to the ages. Even could you force the portal wide enough, you would be greeted by an army of murderous horrors the very instant you step through.
I assure you I was most attentive, and I agree that to go alone would be certain death.
That's why we go as a group.
But if I were to bring along one who has already braved the 13th and humbled the cloud of darkness, well, I imagine my chances would be much improved.
So much for taking it easy.
Since when were you one for the quiet life? Once again, I put my life in your ever-reliable hands. That said, as much as I would like to march straight back to the Void Gate, there is the small matter of being unable to open it without the Satrap's personal authority.
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Looking right at him.
As I've said before, I will grant you and yours any boon you choose to name, provided it does not endanger my people.
You have my word that we will take every precaution. Not a single void scent will be allowed to threaten Radzatan, assuming we manage to expand the portal in the first place.
You have a plan.
Actually, I had hoped you might help us with that. I presume the alchemists you retained supplied you with some explanation of their methodology.
That they did. House Daymir was overseeing the project.
Daymir. Ah, yes. The family associated with the great work.
I did not fully comprehend the theory, but their research began with a void scent which had slipped through the fissure. After a thorough examination, they created an arcane simulacrum possessed of similar qualities. A man-made void scent, if you will. It was apparently indispensable in their efforts to enlarge the gate.
A man-made void scent?
Yes. Being great admirers of the Archons, House Daymir submitted detailed notes to Charlene's official committee. They expected praise and accolades for their simulacrum, and were thus devastated to be informed that their work had been classified as prohibited material.
If that's true, then those notes might still be stored in a forbidden archive somewhere. Not Google, of course, since that library had yet to be built. Which leaves us with...
Charlene. Raha's favorite place to sneak around.
Indeed. Numenon's restricted stacks may very well hold a copy. In which case, I say we head directly to Charlian.
I knew it. Charlian.
Unless you anticipate needing help to reach the high shelves, I see myself being of little use. Go on ahead. I still need to find Mirad and tell him about the Kalzal Foundation.
Let us be on our way as well.
Excited by the idea. Oh, let's go to Charlian. Alrighty. Bum bum ba bum. Come on. Well, now that I've actually finished that dungeon, I should have access to the expert roulettes. So I want to download the storyline. That'll be part of my roulettes I do when I stream non-recorded. So keep an eye out for that too. I want to make sure. Yep, expert roulette. Huh. Yep, they split it into 3 pieces. Out of curiosity. Yep, it changed everything. It's interesting how they removed the I know they were going to remove it, make it so it's a solo thing. Anyway, but yeah, the one where you fight Bertaten is now a solo adventure. It used to be a trial. If we're to enter Numenon's restricted archives with a minimum of fuss, then we must secure the permission of the Forum. First, however, we shall need to enlist the cooperation of a member to broach the matter on our behalf. Who do you think might be inclined to assist us? Alpha-nosed old teacher? You want to spring to mind? What about Scholar Monteshane? He did come to Graha's defense during the inquiry, after all. It is settled. Let us head to Phenomenon and see if he's willing to help us set once more. I thought they were going to add... Yeah, they did. They added it to the thing so you can actually see where all the little conversations are. And they added it so you can teleport with people. You don't have to really run around to them. This would have been nice when I was leveling with it. I apprenticed to Master Matoya at the age of 7 and labored under her tutelage for a full decade. I never had the chance to attend the studio. Neither did Thancred, as I recall. Soon after Master Louisoix took him in off the streets, excuse me. It didn't make sense when I said it the first time. He was put in the care of another Archon. His was rigorous and practical education in the arts of espionage and survival. I sometimes wonder what my life might have been like had I pursued studies here instead. The last night after the day of lectures. Oh, that does sound lovely. Afternoons with friends spent sipping tea and debating theories. Still, I wouldn't give up my time to Master Matoya for the world. The dank cave I studied in was about as far from the bright, airy halls of academia as what one can get. But it was a wondrous, magical childhood nonetheless. Did I wonder as well? Oh, never mind me. Just was an idle thought. Oh. That was a waste. Monteshane. Ah, visitors. And quite esteemed ones at that. What may I do for you? Pray forgive the intrusion, Scholark, but we are hoping you might help us secure permission to enter Numenon's restricted archives. Oh, no further forays into the stacks this time, eh? I applaud this newfound sense of propriety, yet in all this wide world of comparative serenity, what so compels you to disturb a vault of forbidden wisdom? Explain, explain. Explain, explain. Fascinating. I had no idea such a technique existed. I would have been surprised if you had. If my assumption is correct, the research left behind by House Daemir has lain dormant in the Charlene's archives for many centuries. And if you unearth this research, what then? Surely you don't intend to cross over into the void. That is, in fact, precisely what we intend. To what end, pray tell? Yeah, why are we going there? Just 'cause? To develop a method of traversing the rift, for one, that I might keep my word to a distant friend. I guess. Sentiment aside, I have journeyed to the end of existence. I have heard, felt, and thought endlessly about the truth of our world and the echo of its future. And yet I want to understand everything, unravel it all down to its very last secret. What scholar worthy of the name wouldn't force open a void gate or two if a grander revelation was the promised reward? Ha ha ha, marvelous. An audacious proposal worthy of Master Matoya herself. And after hearing the whys and the wherefores, I for one do not believe you would use the knowledge for ill. I see no reason not to present your request for the forum's consideration. Smiles. Although, your petition would be better received if you also had the support of another well-placed acquaintance. Why, Master Fortuno, of course. He can hardly ignore an earnest request from his dear children's most treasured comrades. I was hesitant to approach him directly, but there is no denying that having Master Fortuno on our side would tip the balance in our favor. Very well. We will pay a visit to the Levier estate and plead our case. One last thing before you go. I had considered a personal favor if you might share with me the discoveries you made in the void. My appetite for knowledge is every bit as insatiable as yours, I'd wager. So, if you could see your way to indulging an old man's curiosity. Of course, Scholark. You'll be sure to pass on any revelations. Let's go around. Be faster. Pew pew pew. Let's run into the wall. No other random things to talk about. Good. Let's get to it then. Oh yes, your butler just stands outside the entire time. Let's walk in, if I can. Ah, Master Malcazer, Master Yashtula, how may I be of service? We've come to speak with Master Fortuno. Is he home by any chance? Yes, the master is in his residence. I shall inform him that he has guests. Excuse me? Well, well, Amelia would invite you inside for tea, but I assume this is not a social visit. You have some matter of import to discuss? Then pray proceed. You have my full attention. We can explain it again. Explain. And explain. Well, I suppose I should praise you for following the proper protocols this time around. Scholar Montachane expressed much the same sentiment. I assure you, will not attempt to circumvent the forum's authority again, unless it is absolutely necessary, of course. Of course. You do understand that the restricted archives are restricted for good reason, yes? If no pressing need exists, then why risk the consequences of employing this forbidden knowledge? For a brother who misses his sister, he was his guardian and his friend. A selfless hero who crossed the rift between worlds to save her homeland, horror and suffering. But the brother has given up on thoughts of reunion. He spends his efforts elsewhere, watching over people yet healing from the flames of the final days, loyal to his duty while betraying the longing in his heart. It is no vital mission, perhaps, reuniting these siblings, but it feels a worthy cause to pursue all the same. As one who feared losing his own loved ones and spent years in research to prevent it, surely you appreciate how painful such a separation must be. Reflections are still very much a mystery to us. Offering to share your experiences in the first should constitute a fair exchange for our cooperation. Do not celebrate just yet. The forum must still be convinced. I will add your request to the list of today's deliberations and deliver the decision to you at the Benesian Annex. Yeah. It's fortunate that they finally made it so you can see all the different conversations you can have, and there's only one of them. That's fine. I guess it's not a big deal. Still, being able to teleport is just fantastic. I wonder if, like on an Elpis, if you could ride around and they'll keep up with you. That was quick. So, what did the forum decide? Put it bluntly, Master Matoya has burned some bridges here in Charlian, and salted the earth for good measure. When it became clear that her student was the petitioner in question, well, no few members voiced their discontent. And the chamber was reminded, in no uncertain terms I might add, of the uncredible debt we owe to you and your companions. That served to silence the grumbles and stiffen a few spines, and it was agreed that allowing you entry to the archives was the least we could do in return. That look, he was the one that convinced them of the things we did. That is wonderful news. Thank you both for speaking on our behalf. Yes, well, as I'm sure you are aware, this permission was not extended lightly. Forbidden knowledge is to be treated with the utmost caution, and there will be repercussions if it is not. I wish you well in your endeavor, and bid you good day. And for the same, that one. Uncompromising? Aye, but that very stoicism is exactly what Charlene needed to guide it through not one, but two exoduses. That went rather well, I think. As a child, I dreamed up any number of schemes on forgetting my hands on those forbidden tomes, and now I can simply walk in through the door. Our focus will be on finding House Damir's research notes, of course, but the thought of so much knowledge at my disposal has me feeling a little giddy. And with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and end it here tonight.